My mum was 84, fragile, weak, and in pain. That morning the doctor said, she needs to come in immediately. My car in the shop. My options none. So I turned to the one person I thought would understand, my wife. I asked her for her car. She didn't hesitate, didn't even look concerned. She just said, "Not my problem, figure it out." I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just said one word. "Okay." She thought it ended there. But that okay was the beginning of the end. That okay wasn't just a reply. It was a realization that had been building inside me for years. For a long time I ignored the small things. The way she would dismiss serious situations. The way she avoided responsibility. The way her tone always carried a strange coldness. At first I thought it was normal. I told myself, every relationship has problems. Maybe she's just stressed. Maybe I'm overthinking. And slowly I started adjusting. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken. I ignored things that should have mattered. I convinced myself that patience would fix everything. But patience doesn't fix a lack of care. And that day proved it. Because this time it wasn't about me. It was about my mother. An 84-year-old woman who had spent her entire life sacrificing for me. And when she needed help, the person closest to me didn't care. That moment broke every illusion I had. Not loudly, not dramatically, but silently. And sometimes, silent realizations hurt the most. I walked back into my mother's room. And the moment I stepped inside, everything outside that room felt distant, almost unreal, like the world had slowed down just for this one moment. The noise, the tension, the disappointment I had been carrying, all of it faded into the background. Because there she was. My mother. Sitting on the edge of the bed, slightly bent forward, holding herself together with the little strength she had left. She looked weaker than I had ever seen her before, but even then she was trying not to show it. That's what mothers do. They hide their pain so their children don't feel it. Her eyes slowly lifted toward me. And when they met mine, it wasn't just a look. It was trust. Pure, deep, silent trust. The kind of trust that doesn't ask questions, it just believes. She spoke softly. Beta Chalna Hai. Those words weren't ordinary. They carried everything she couldn't say openly. The fear she didn't want to show. The pain she was Arabic ta, Arabic het, Arabic meme, Arabic lam, ing in silence. The hope that I would handle everything. And the faith that I would not let her down. In that moment, something inside me tightened. Not anger, not confusion. Responsibility. Heavy responsibility. I knew I couldn't fail her. Not even for a second. So I made a decision right there. A quiet decision. A final one. I stopped expecting anything from my wife. Not because I suddenly hated her. Not because I wanted revenge. But because reality had become clear. There are moments in life where expectations become dangerous because they stop you from acting. And I couldn't afford that right now. For the first time, I didn't look back at her. Not even for approval. Not even for hope. I simply turned away. I took out my phone. My hands were steady, but my mind wasn't. And I called a neighbor. A man I barely knew. We weren't close, we didn't share deep conversations, we barely exchanged greetings most days. But still I called him. Because sometimes you don't need closeness. You just need humanity. When he answered, I didn't waste time explaining everything in detail. My voice wasn't fully stable, but I said enough for him to understand the urgency. There was a short silence on the other side. Just a few seconds. But those seconds felt heavy, like he was processing what I said. Then he spoke. I'm coming. No questions. No conditions. No excuses. No delay. Just action. And that one sentence hit me harder than anything else that day. Because it revealed something I had been ignoring for too long. Real support is not about relationships on paper. It's about character. It's about who shows up when life becomes difficult. When he arrived at the door, there was no hesitation. No unnecessary talk. He simply stepped in and helped. As if it was the most normal thing to do. And maybe that's what real humanity is. Not loud, not dramatic. Just present. Just real. In that moment, I understood something deeply. The people you expect the most are not always the ones who stand with you. And sometimes, the people you least expect become your biggest support when everything falls apart. We helped my mother into the car. And every single step she took felt heavier than the last. It wasn't just physical pain. It was exhaustion, weakness, and a silent struggle she was trying so hard to hide. Her hands were cold, trembling slightly as she held onto my arm. Her body felt fragile, like even the smallest push of wind could break her balance. But even in that condition, her face didn't show complaint. Because her strength was not in her body. It was in her faith. As we carefully settled her into the seat, she whispered again. Allah sab thik kayaga. Those words weren't loud. They weren't dramatic. But they carried more power than anything else in that moment. And somehow, they gave me strength too. We started moving toward the hospital. The road felt longer than usual. Every second felt stretched, heavy, uncertain. My mind wasn't calm. I kept thinking about her condition. About whether we were on time. About what could happen if we were even a little late. And I kept replaying everything in my head. Every decision. Every delay. Every second mattered. When we finally reached the hospital, everything changed again. The environment was different. Cold, fast, stressful. Doctors rushing in every direction. Machines beeping continuously. Families sitting quietly with fear in their eyes. Some praying, some crying, some just staring at nothing. And I stood there, right in the middle of all that chaos. Completely helpless. I felt like I was doing everything, yet not in control of anything. Time stopped making sense. Minutes felt like hours. Every second felt heavier than the last. And I just kept waiting. Waiting for answers. Waiting for hope. Waiting for something to tell me she would be okay. Then finally, after what felt like an eternity, a doctor walked out. He looked at me for a moment and said the words I will never forget. You brought her just in time. Just in time. Those 3 words didn't just inform me. They shook me. Because suddenly I understood how close everything had been. One delay. One argument. One wasted moment. And I could have lost her. Completely. And standing there in that silence, something inside me became painfully clear. This was never about a car. It was never about convenience. It was about priorities. About responsibility. About humanity. And about the kind of people we choose to trust when life becomes serious. Because in moments like this, you don't remember words. You remember actions. Who stood with you, and who didn't. And that realization stayed with me. That night I didn't go home. I stayed at the hospital, watching over my mother, listening to the silence, waiting. The next day, still no call, no message, no concern, nothing. At first I felt hurt. I kept checking my phone, hoping, maybe she'll call. Maybe she'll ask. But she didn't. And slowly, that hope disappeared. Because her silence was louder than any words. And in that silence, I found my answer. Days passed. My mother slowly started recovering. And I started thinking. Really thinking. About everything. Every moment I ignored. Every red flag I avoided. Every excuse I made. I realized something. I wasn't blind. I just chose not to see. Because accepting the truth is hard. Especially when it involves someone you love. But now, there was no escaping it. The truth was clear. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. When I finally went back home, nothing had changed. Except me. She was sitting there casually scrolling her phone. Like nothing ever happened. She looked at me and said, "Oh, you're back." That was it. No concern. No apology. Just indifference. And in that moment, I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just clarity. I sat down calmly. "I think we need to talk." She sighed. "About what?" That tone. That exact tone. Was the final confirmation. "I can't do this anymore." I said it calmly. Without emotion. Without anger. At first she laughed. Like it was a joke. But when she saw my face, she realized I was serious. "You're serious?" I nodded. And for the first time, she had no response. Because deep down, she knew. This wasn't sudden. This was built over time. And now, it had reached its end. Weeks later, we separated. No drama. No fights. No shouting. Just distance. And peace. Because sometimes the end doesn't need noise. Sometimes silence is enough. Life slowly changed. I started noticing small things again. Peaceful mornings, quiet nights, simple moments. I spent more time with my mother, listening to her stories, understanding her struggles. And one day, she looked at me and said, "You seem lighter." And she was right. Because I wasn't carrying that weight anymore. Because I learned something important. Something I will never forget again. Revenge isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with anger, shouting, or dramatic actions. Real revenge, if you can even call it that, is often quiet. It's silent. It happens inside you, not outside. It's not about hurting someone back. It's not about proving a point. It's not about winning an argument. Sometimes, it's simply about understanding. Understanding who someone really is. And choosing not to fight a battle that was never worth it in the first place. That day taught me something deeper than pain. It taught me clarity. Because when you truly see a person's actions, you don't need explanations anymore. You don't need arguments. You don't need closure from them. You already have the truth. And truth is enough. I stopped thinking about what I lost and started realizing what I had been holding onto for too long. Expectations that were never met. Emotional effort that was never returned. Care that was never balanced. And slowly, I understood something very simple. You can't force someone to care. You can't force empathy. You can't teach humanity to someone who refuses to show it. So the only option left is acceptance and distance. Choosing peace doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are finally strong enough to stop fighting the wrong battles. It means you value your mental peace more than emotional chaos. It means you understand your worth. That one word, okay, wasn't just a response that day. It wasn't agreement. It wasn't surrender. It was realization. It was acceptance. It was the moment I stopped begging for understanding and started choosing myself. That okay didn't just end a conversation. It ended confusion. It ended false hope. It ended emotional exhaustion. And it started something new. A quiet chapter. A peaceful life. A clearer mind. Because sometimes, the most powerful decision you can make is not to fight harder, but to walk away smarter. And that is exactly what I did.